One moment I'm feeling great. I am sitting at home and planning some of the last minute details for the Switzerland Christmas markets trip that I had been planning on taking with my mother and my aunt the following week. And then the next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call telling me that I need to go to the emergency room right away. So I had some routine blood work done, and the results had come back saying that I was dangerously low on blood, that I had a dangerous level of anemia, and that I needed to get a blood transfusion. So I was shocked because I felt fine. The nurse practitioner that I was working with, she kept asking me on the phone, she said, do you feel faint? Are you short of breath? And I didn't feel any of this. And they asked me the same type of questions at the hospital. And, but in fact, they did another blood test at the hospital and it confirmed that I had, in fact, lost a lot of blood. But apparently it had happened over a very long period of time, and my body had just adjusted to it. So this was the precursor to finding out that I had cancer. In this video, I will share more about that, how there were times during the week that I spent in the hospital that, I don't know, I wasn't sure I was gonna make it. And there were 3 practices that I used in my time there that gave me real strength in those moments. And all 3 of these practices are very easy, and they're something that you have available to you for free at any time you need to access them to help get you through tough times. So I want to share those with you today. So first, a little bit more about my hospital experience. So I got there and they gave me 2 units of blood the first day, and then they scheduled me for a colonoscopy the next day, because apparently one of the most prevalent ways or common ways that people lose blood over a long period of time is like for something in the colon, in your digestive tract. They were very surprised that when they did the colonoscopy the next day to find out that I did have a tumor in my colon. When the doctor that had done the colonoscopy came out and told me what they had found, he had explained that he was quite confident that it was going to come back as cancerous. They had taken a biopsy, but he said in his experience, he knew because of the size of it that it was going to be cancerous. So regardless, the tumor had to come out because it would eventually grow so large it would block, passage. So they did schedule me. I was lucky to be able to get surgery the very next morning. And the doctor or the surgeon that I was talking to that was going to do my surgery, she explained to me that day that they were going to need to remove a foot of my colon. And I was really shocked that they would have to take such a large section of my colon. But the surgeon had explained, because I think they said the tumor was like maybe 3 inches or something like that. But the surgeon explained that they have to get really good blood flow on each of the parts where they make the cuts so that it heals really, really well. Anyway, my recovery was a bit difficult. After they transferred me out of ICU, my bowels were functioning or had started functioning again, which was a good thing. But I was losing a ton of blood. I literally was up going to the bathroom like every 15 to 30 minutes for that entire next day. The day after I got out of ICU, just going to the bathroom and I was losing blood. And honestly, it was really scary because I knew, I could see it, that I was losing a ton of blood. So that night I was honestly a little afraid to go to sleep. And I was not thinking positive at all at that point in time. But at the same point, I had not made a decision to stop focusing on the worst case scenarios, which was really what I was doing. So when I woke up the next morning, I decided that I really did need to take control of my state of mind. So the first thing I did was that I began thinking of all the things that I was grateful for. Fortunately, I have been practicing gratitude for many years, so this really, it came quite easily to me despite where I was and what I was experiencing. So I really began to tune into the fact of things like, I was breathing, and I was thankful for being able to simply take another breath and another breath. And then I shuffled my way over to the window, and I opened up the shades, and I saw this beautiful pink glow of the sunrise. And, I thought about how wonderful it was that I was getting to see one more beautiful sunrise. And I thought about how blessed I was with the strong support of my family. And so I really soaked in these feelings of feeling supported and loved by them for a while. And all this really helped immensely. I mean, it really never ceases to amaze me how a focus on gratitude can bring with it such a sense of calm and peace in what can feel like the worst of times. So another practice that I found extremely helpful while I was there, and I was reminded about this from my interactions with my surgeon. When I spoke to her several times before and after the surgery, each time she had such an amazing amount of presence. She had this sense of strength and compassion, which was very comforting. But her ability to be so present for me when we spoke, it really gave me an incredible amount of strength myself as well. And so it reminded me that I could be present for other moments for myself too. So, I would linger a little longer when I was watching the sunrise that next day, and I really tried to take in the beauty of the flowers that my family had sent, and I made an intention to really connect and be fully present in the conversations I was having with my family, with the nurses and the doctors, anyone that came in. And what I found is both being on the receiving end as well as on the giving end of being present really seemed to fuel within me an inner strength that simply was not there the day before. So if being present is something that you're not accustomed to doing, or you don't know how to get started with this, I think probably one of the easiest ways to practice being present is simply just to get really curious. Curiosity really helps you to hold your attention on things longer. And it's really this holding of attention that allows you to really be there for someone without getting distracted and starting to think about, what do I need to say next and that type of thing. It allows you to be able to sit there in appreciation and to appreciate beauty too, at a deeper level if you're looking at something. It allows you to more fully embrace a moment, this sense of curiosity. So anyway, my bleeding did stop that day, and they did have to give me another 2 pints of blood because I lost so much, but I did begin to stabilize. And later that day, I did get the good news that my cancer was stage 1. This meant that I was not going to have to get any chemotherapy or any radiation. And oh my gosh, I felt so extremely blessed, really grateful for this. I was released from the hospital the next day. The next day at home, it was challenging too. It seemed that I couldn't eat even the most simple, bland food without a very high level of digestive discomfort. But I'm learning what my body is able to tolerate at this point, and that's where I'm having to lean into this third practice that I want to share with you, which is patience. And I know they call it a virtue, but I call it a practice here, and I do think it's a practice because it is something that you can practice in your life. And when you do this, it can really make a big difference and make it easier when you're forced to wait for things. Like in this case, forced to wait to eat like I'd like to eat. So you can do things like opening up, waiting and delaying to open up the mail, even though you're curious about what's in that envelope, or you can practice patience. For example, of like when you decide to eat something, you can delay that, or you can set, a delayed time frame for something that you really want to do. Patience is also helping me to be in not too big of a hurry to get back to the same levels of activity that I had before surgery, and to really allow myself this time to heal. I think that practicing patience is also going to help give me the space to not necessarily get back to life just as it was before. I think a lot of times when something happens, we're in this hurry to get back to the way things were before. But when you can take the time and have the space to reflect about what do you really want your life to look like, it can be a huge catalyst for creating more ease and more happiness in your life, because we can always improve. In the last few years, I feel like I've made so many improvements on getting closer to what is an ideal life for me. But when I step back and think about it, there's still things as life shifts that I want to do differently. There's things I want more of in my life, and there's things that I'd like less of in my life. And taking this time and space to reflect on this, I know is going to really help me better create this new lifestyle that I want to create for myself. I don't think it'll be like tremendously different, but there are some things that I'd like to do differently. So while I continue to feel a little bit better each day, I am continuing to really lean into these practices of gratitude and presence and patience. And I'm finding that it's giving me strength, it's helping me remain positive. It's really bringing me a lot of joy. And I hope that me sharing these here with you today and sharing a little bit with you about my own healing journey, that it can be helpful for you to get through whatever challenges you're facing in your life. It seems like these three practices in particular, or these three tools, sometimes I call them, are some of the easiest to access when times are really tough. The final thing that I want to share with you is that I have been working for a number of months now to really fine-tune and develop a program, a transformational offering for people who are really ready to make changes in their life, the changes that they need to make to be able to truly live with more intention and find more ease and happiness in their life. I am accepting a few more one-on-one clients. If you would like to be considered for one of these spots, you can follow the link in my description and book yourself a discovery call with me to see if we would be a good fit to work together on something like this. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Just a quick reminder, if you have, to give it a thumbs up, to share it to anyone that you think might find the things that we talked about in it helpful. And I hope you have an amazing week. I'm really glad to be back here, and I'm glad you're here watching and listening with me.